The following podcast is intended only for listeners who are intent on growing the business. Welcome to Innovate Marketing, where we are bringing you interviews with the brands, the influencers, and the nonprofits that are making waves and growing business. We are brought to you by mypodcast.media. MyPodcast.media produces high-quality podcasts that authentically connect you to your ideal audience. And now, I'd like to introduce you to your host for Innovate Marketing, Sherry Peak.
Welcome to Innovate Marketing. Today, our guest is Barbara Majeski, and Barbara is both a colon cancer survivor and a TV personality that loves sharing her tips and her tricks. She has made frequent appearances on The Today Show, Good Day New York, New York Live, and The Nick Cannon Show. Barbara is also a mother of 3 and resides in Princeton, New Jersey, and she is also known as the Curator of The Good Life. Welcome, Barbara.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We are glad to have you today on the show, and I'm so looking forward to how you're going to share with us how people can be creating the best life possible for themselves. But before we get into that, let's just talk a little about Barbara and her journey to this place in life where she is today.
Yeah, I just finished a segment for the Today Show doing DIY Halloween costumes. It was a dream of mine to always be on TV and specifically on the Today Show. But I really didn't launch my initiative into media and television until I was in my 40s. I had battled a late stage cancer when I was 42. And I really struggled with my cancer treatments. It wasn't the cancer, it was that chemo that was like bringing me to the edge. But what I found when I was confronted with my own mortality during my treatments is that I left so much out on the field, so much that I hadn't even touched and that I wanted to experience. And when I really got in touch with why I never even bothered to pursue it, I realized it was my own negative self-talk. It was the weight of other people's opinions that stopped me. And it was fear, doubt, all these negative things that all resided inside my head. And when I took stock of that, I was like, something, if I get another shot at life, I will never let the voices of fear, self-doubt, or the weight of other people's opinions stop me in the pursuit of. What made me so disappointed in the reflection of how my life was going to, the chapters that I thought my chapters were over. I thought, this is where my book ends. This is the end. These are all the chapters that's it. These are all the chapters I get to write. I was most disappointed in the chapters that I never took initiative to pursue. And I focused, and then, I said to myself, I was like, I would rather fail in the pursuit than fail to try. I would rather fail trying. I would rather fail in the arena of life than just let the negative self-talk talk me out of taking initiative. And that's what I got to the other side of cancer. I was like, all right, Babs, you said you were going to go for it. What does that look like? And I started to unpack it. And I thought, all right, well, I want to be on TV. And I want to, how do you get on TV? I don't know how to TV. I don't know how to do that. And I started to be like, all right, when you don't know something, you have to learn something. And how do you learn something? Well, I have to find a teacher and the rest is history. I hired a media trainer. I did the work. I put myself out there. And I'm now living my dream. I go on the Today Show and I'm like, oh my God, pinch me. Even if I'm doing silly DIY costumes, the point is I'm in the arena and I'm doing the things. But now where you're finding me is I'm helping more people understand that their destiny is in their control. And when you change the way that you think and you change the way that you act, you can change the trajectory of your life. So I love using my story and my experience, not just through television, but through my lifetime of how to really live your best life. And it all starts with you and your personal responsibility and your willingness to do the work to live your best life. So, that's where you're finding me. I do a lot of coaching programs. I'm writing books. I'm just, I do a lot of keynote speaking. And I just help people get out of their own way, live their best life, and not wait till they're confronted with their own damn mortality before they start doing it. So
What
that's
courage
where I am
that
today.
took. I love that story, Barbara, because a lot of times people think if you don't do it in your 20s and your 30s, you've missed the mark. And by 40 and 50, it's time to just kind of settle in wherever you are and just retire and be glad with what you have. But your message is so much different than that.
And I love that you said that, Sherry. I love that you said that because that is like, it's stop people like, we think like life begins and ends when you're 20. Like your frontal lobe, if you're a dude, isn't even fully developed. You don't even have rational thoughts yet, until you're like 23. And it's such a false narrative. And we're living so much longer that we have to recognize there can be so many iterations of Sherry Peak, Barbara Majeski. We aren't married to who we were in our 20s. And I am not only like, I'm obsessed with what you're saying because it does validate that so many more people need to understand that really who you are is an evolution. You're constantly changing. The only thing, you can count on is change itself, but you can be in the driver's seat unless you don't own that. Like you don't want to take personal responsibility that you're the culmination of your decisions that you make and how you handle life and adversity, that you are inevitably going to be handed a crap diagnosis or a crappy hand. It's not the hand that you're dealt, it's how you play the hand. But yeah, so many people are like, well, I was a football star in my high school years. Like that was it? That's your whole story? That's the whole damn book? So I want to help more people understand that you're the biggest problem in your life, really. And Sherry, I'll just share this really quick. One of the things, so when I got into television, I was like, oh my God, I'm 40 something years old. I'd been successful in launching sales teams in my 20s and 30s. And I had done well. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go into TV and I'll have to be at the lowest end. I'll have to be a coffee runner for some 25-year-old producer, or I'm going to have to be reporting from the bowels of New Jersey on some dumpster fire in like a hurricane. And I said this, Sherry, I was like, oh my God, what are people going to think? And then I heard myself and I was like, I don't care. I already told myself when I was surviving cancer, I don't care what other people think anymore. Because the truth is, people are going to judge you. You might as well give them something to judge you about. And by the way, you have no jurisdiction of their judgment on you. So let it go and give them something really juicy to sink their damn judgy pants into. And when you surrender, like you don't actually have any authority over anybody's judgment of you, and you shouldn't really give a rat's tail. It is so liberating. I was like, wait a second. I don't care, because I am reporting from a dumpster fire in the bowels of New Jersey, and I'm living out my dreams, or I'm actually living in the pursuit of my dreams. So you can judge me any way you want. Number one, I don't hear it. Number two, I don't care. Number three, it's not putting food on my table.
I tell you, that's some powerful. That's right. That is so powerful. Everything that you've said.
Right?
I'm just tickled on the inside because I love to hear conversation like this. And this is exactly what we need today. We're in the midst of so many decisions and changes that are happening. And a lot of people are just stuck. They're stuck. They're content, but on the inside, I know that they really want more. I told you a little bit about what I do, in my workplace, and this is what I see every day. So this message will be shared, and hence that's why they call you the curator of the good life, because you have taken that dream that you have of being in broadcasting and you have built a brand, a marketable brand off of that. So let's talk a little bit more about how you built that brand after your battle with cancer.
Well, Sherry, what's important to understand is everything's a work in progress. I think we all go to be the masterpiece and have perfection over progress. I'm a girl that's like, let's move fast and break things. And my website's changed a few times. And, I'm still a body in motion, but I'm learning along the way, trying to figure out how do I communicate my message most effectively and not be pigeonholed as a television lifestyle expert, because that's just one component of like, one component of this. I'm really just always trying new things. I really practice what I preach, which is instead of judging, I get curious. So when people are like, you should be on TikTok, I'm like, why? Like, I'm not like, that's for the kids. You just, I think just surrendering, like people are like, get on Snapchat, get on YouTube, get on. I'm like, I am going to throw it all against the wall and see what sticks for my brand, for my audience. How am I going to bring value to the most people? How are most people going to hear? Like, how can I bring this information to the most people as humanly possible? And that's where I'm at right now, is just constantly in pursuit of how do I scale my brand and how do I scale efficiently and communicate the message that I am a curator. I find, test, and share everything it means to live your best life. And that sometimes that's seen on TV with like, no, this is a really great way to enjoy your holidays or to travel or what have you. Or it's like, listen, take some of my accountability courses because I want to move you from information to transformation. And that's how I steal things from everybody. Like, I'm a like, but I try to give credit where credit is due, but I'm like this like curator. I find, test, and share all the good stuff. I'm like, this is a powerful mindset strategy. This is a mantra. Take this. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That is a great mindset piece. Let me share this in my accountability challenges. So you understand, like, you're the master of your own destiny. You decide what you choose your own adventure. Or we're all a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. That is Sophia Bush's quote, and that I bring in, and I'm like, listen, we are a work in progress. Like, let's all get on. And it like helps other people be like, you know what? That's a really good mindset strategy. So I can continue to move the feet forward and live my best life. So, again, I'm a work in progress, like Sophia Bush says, trying to always make sure that my brand is optimized and communicating what I have. But it is not perfect and it is still in progress. People are like, oh, I didn't know you did that, or I didn't know that was you, or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm still figuring out how to communicate it most efficiently and effective. And I'm not afraid. I will say that, Sherry, I am not afraid to throw it all out there and see what sticks. And sometimes I'm like, that was terrible. But you don't know what's terrible until you go out there and you put it out there. And some people are like, no, I just, I'm not doing that. I'm not like that. I'm like, I'll try anything once, not bungee jumping or skydiving, but the safe stuff, like, you.
I appreciate your transparency because that alone probably just really helped individuals to start thinking forward, just saying, I don't have it all, I don't know it all, but I'm trying these things out. So, in your scope of building your brand in the age of social and content marketing, what has been the most successful strategy for you to build your personal brand?
Clubhouse. So that's crazy. It's like this platform that's going by the way of MySpace. But Clubhouse is a drop-in audio app. So I think drop-in audio apps are not going anywhere. I think there's going to be many iterations of it and many different platforms trying to jockey for it. But I think it's a very powerful way to become more three-dimensional. Instagram, you can see me. Television, you can hear me, but Clubhouse, you get to know me. Like, I get to talk, and I don't have any producer being like, don't say that, Barbara. Nobody understands, la, la, la. Barbara, the talking points are going to be there's nobody in my ear except, the guts and glory up here, articulating myself. So for me, it's been Clubhouse. If you're not a strong, that's not your thing, don't worry about it. Like, but it is a good place to network, and you get this power of proximity on Clubhouse. I have networked like a crazy lady on there. That's number one. Not doing great on Twitter. I was permanently suspended for no reason. Everyone's like, oh my God, that's so juicy. I'm like, I wish I had a good story for you, Sherry. I wish I could like break bread with you and be like, I did this, but I didn't. And I don't know how to, I'm just permanently suspended. And because of automation, I can't get a live body to tell me what I did wrong. But I'm like, they're like, oh, we can get you back on. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before you get me back on, I really want to know why that happened, because it shouldn't have happened to somebody like me. So Twitter and I are not getting along. We're in a fight, but Elon Musk is going to save my life. He'll be my Clark Kent. And TikTok, Instagram, Face, I'm all over the place. The Today Show helps.
Yeah, it does help. And you also work with brands to test products with your audience. Is there one that stands out to you as being really successful?
Yes.
And if
Okay,
so,
so
what was the
yeah.
secret for that brand's success?
Okay, so first of all, the product was great, but there's so many people with really great products, skincare, healthcare, health things, clothing. People have great stuff. It is the marketing is everything, and being relentless in your marketing. Put all your money behind the marketing. It doesn't matter how good your book is. If you cannot market and sell it to what the audience wants, no one's going to read it. No one's going to buy it. Nobody cares. Marketing, 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 marketing. That's all. Put your money all there. That's number one. So Mosey, there's this thermal wrap. It's like this giant sleeping bag, and it wraps around you. And I had reached out to them for one of my segments, and I was like, I want to put that on there. And what they had done was they randomly, and this is where, you just don't know you don't know unless you go. They had done a Instagram ad, and it was garb. The ad was is terrible. Is a terrible ad, but I happened to see, you just never know. This is why, like, they ran a Mickey Mouse ad that, like, I think their fourth grader did, and I saw it, but it gave me enough information that I was like, oh, I was doing an outdoor segment. Anyway, long story short, it's this thermal wrap. You wrap it as a sleeping bag, and I was like, that's really good for moms on the sidelines at sporting events. And because we're in COVID and we could only eat outside, I was like, we all need those. Anywho, Mosey was just on Shark Tank. So they just filmed, and maybe I'm not even supposed to be telling that. Whoops. Anywho, it'll be aired anytime soon. But they never stopped trying to market their products and find ways that, like, really resonated with people. I just think you have to be in relentless pursuit of marketing as much as you develop a really great product. If you can't sell it and market it, brand it, and if you got to kind of throw a lot of money at it and then not get caught up in the stuff that didn't work. You either learn or you fail. Like, you either learn or you win. I'm sorry. There's no failing. You only fail if you fail to learn the lesson. And maybe Instagram ads weren't for you and you lost money, but you know what? It moves you closer to a yes. Every no that didn't work out moves you closer to a yes. You will find your market. You will find your messaging. You will find your way if you never give up in relentless pursuit.
Now, for individuals who are just drawn into this conversation like me, and they're thinking, you know what? I'm ready to live my best life. You talked about finding coaches and resources and building a team to help you get where you are today. And you seem so happy and like you're really enjoying life. And that's what's missing for a lot of people, is that fulfillment on the inside. How would you encourage them to take the next steps from moving from a place of not being satisfied with where they are, maybe going through some battles or some struggles themselves? How would you encourage them to move forward out of that place and in pursuit to living their best life?
Sherry, you just asked like the $1 million question. I love you. I think you're really good at interviewing.
Thank you,
I want to
Barbara.
say that. So I'm sitting here with my book. You know what? I'll get the one that doesn't have my sticker on it. Um, it's like I call it the journal. You got to start by writing things down, and you got to scare the shit out of yourself. Ooh, and if I curse, sorry, just beat me up. If you have to start by transferring your goals, your desires, your visions for yourself, because if that vision, Sherry, keeps coming across your screen, your conscious and subconscious mind, the universe is calling upon you to be in pursuit of it. If it is not letting it go, like for me, it was being on television. If it is not letting it just die a death, it was meant for you. If it keeps coming across your screen and your brain screen, you got to start writing it down. And It's supposed to scare you because you haven't achieved it yet. It hasn't manifested yet. That's I just want to be, I just want to live the same life. You want to be in Groundhog's Day. Nobody writes that. Start by writing down your goals. Is it your health, your wealth, or your happiness that you want to optimize? What vertical is like, you know what? I have more in me. I should be making more money because I want freedom. I want to live a certain lifestyle. There's no shame in the money game, right? Somebody's got to make the money. Why not you? Why not somebody who's listening? Why not you? But are you willing to do the work is the next question. So you write it down. What do you want? Where do you see yourself? What's your lifestyle like? Health, wealth, and happiness. And then you ask yourself, am I willing to do the work to be in relentless pursuit of that? Because you haven't figured it out yet. So you've got to go through the suck of, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to, if you're working on your health, I don't know how to stay consistent. Okay, great. That's what I'm going to focus in on. I'm an accountability coach too. So I'm like, always like, the magic isn't in motivation and inspiration. Everybody talks about that. I'm like, it's not motivation, inspiration you need. It's atomic habits that you need, right? It's behaviors, it's consistency, it's everyone's like, I can't stay motivated and inspired. Nobody can. Those are emotions, and your goals don't care how you feel. So stop trying to be motivated and inspired and start doing shit, even when you don't want to do it. Okay. Start getting good at doing the things that you need to do to get the things that you want. So anyway, back to my things, because that's my accountability stuff. Write it down. Are you willing to do the work? Because the work requires for you to get uncomfortable, because you have to recognize that you got to learn it. And learning something is so hard. Learning to play the guitar is hard. Learning a new language is hard. Learning how to create generational wealth is hard because you don't know how to do it. So you've got to establish new neuromuscular pathways. You have to establish you're going to feel dumb, but you're not dumb. You just haven't learned it yet. And we've been taught in school that if you can't figure out algorithms and exponential factors, you're stupid, which is the school system is stupid for doing that. You just weren't interested. You weren't dumb. You weren't dumb at all. It's just geometry wasn't going to make you money, put food on the table, or make you feel good about yourself. But if in these verticals that you're writing down, you're like, this would make me, I want to be in pursuit of this. You also have to, that part of like, am I willing to do the work? And when you're willing to do the work, then you can start doing the things like and getting down to the habits and stop worrying about motivation and inspiration. That's like my friend Brian Benstock says, it's kindling. It lights the fire, but it's not going to heat the house. It's not going to boil the water. Okay. It's not going to take, it's just kindling. They're fumes. They're not going to get you from New Jersey to Idaho. You got to get the real logs, and that's in your habits, your behaviors, your consistency, mentors. And you have to be relentless. You have to not get off. Oh, I got distracted. Of course you did. You're lifing. As you can see, I'm like an accountability person. I'm like, of course you got disappointed. Of course you got discouraged, distracted. You're lifing, kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing.
Wow, Barbara. Over the time that you've built your career to where you are now, what has been the biggest life lesson that you take away from all of this?
Life is so much about how you handle the cards that you're dealt. I mean, and it's your perception of your reality that is so important. If you perceive yourself as a victim, you are. But if you perceive yourself as a relentless warrior, a victor, you can, like, those muscles are just stronger. They breed abundance, prosperity, happiness, opportunity, love, connectedness. But you get to choose your own adventure. You're either a victim or a victor. That's it. So having taking personal responsibility, understanding things do happen to you, and you have been a victim of crimes and unfairness, and but I have to say this, Sharon, I think it's important. I do believe that they give the toughest battles to the strongest soldiers to build muscles and build opportunity. There's nothing that hasn't happened to me that in the moment I'm like, what the hell is this? That hasn't served its divine purpose at some point. And like, I'm grateful for that. And I've been through some things, but you have too, Sherry, and everybody else that's listening to this. I know you have chapters that you don't want to read out loud. And I'm saying, read those chapters out loud and know that you've overcome every battle you've ever been through. And it's there so that you can grow a certain muscle or whatever it is. It's indigenous to each and every one of us. And that I think is the biggest lesson to take. And that knowingness of that happened. Now it's how I handle what happens, same thing with cancer or divorce or infidelity or trauma and tragedy. And we have to ball up in that fetal position at some point in our life, kick rocks and feel sorry for ourselves. But whether we stay in that space or not is really up to us. And that's, to me, Sherry, that separates people. A lot of people want to remain in narratives that are sabotaging as opposed to move into narratives that are empowering. I'm like, you know what? I'm a badass. I am a really tough person. And I'll make this short, but I went through a very difficult divorce. Crazy, belongs in a movie, and maybe someday will. Definitely goes in my book. But at the time, I couldn't believe it because these attorneys were beating the crap out of me. These celebrity attorneys, my ex-husband hired celebrity attorneys. They were like thousands of dollars an hour. I don't know what they were, something redonk-donk. And they're just I'd open up an email and I'd be like, oh my God. And I'd read it and I'd be like, oh my God, that is like so mean. And that poor girl who they're talking about, holy mother, she's a I was like, they're talking about me. And it was like this hostile. And I was like, here's the long and the short of it. For a long time, I was bitter about it. I was like, why did they do that to me? I'm like a really good person. I'm a mother of 3. I was a good wife. We were done. Like, why not make this fair and square? Long story short, I ended up doing some real estate transactions that got very heated. And at the hardest part of it, I was like tough as nails. I was like, what are they going to do? Take me to court and yell at me, send me nasty emails? I'm like, you can't hurt me. And all of a sudden I was like, I am like a tough girl. And all of a sudden I realized I had those lawyers because they beat the snot out of me for years, and I ended up winning, and I ended up winning over them. What I learned about myself is that I am one tough son of a gun, and I'm not one to back down from a fight. And because I had that that knowingness of myself, and not that bitterness, but that clarity of like, oh no, I'm like, you want to play ball with me? Like, let's go to the mat. But I never had that muscle before. I was like, why are they so mean? And I don't want to get in a fight, and I don't want to go to court, and I don't want to deal with judges, and I want to be nice. I want everyone to like me. And all of a sudden I was like, I could be the juiciest peach on the planet and not everybody's going to like peaches. Screw this. I'm Sherry, I was like a better version of me. Like, not a pushover or a doormat. I was like, and instead of being bitter for these lawyers in a karmic spiritual way, it was like, thank you for being really, because you saw that I was a tough person. You must have, or you didn't know I was a tough person. You tried to make me buckle, but you didn't make me buckle. You made me better. So, that's a quote right there. I didn't buckle. I got better,
No, that's good. Barbara,
Now I got to write that down.
You should write it down. You should write it down.
See the power of the pen. I didn't buckle. I got better. It's going to be my next quote.
Barbara, I have so enjoyed this conversation with you, our time together. And I really appreciate you normalizing that it's okay to have a desire and to pursue being everything that you want to be. And I know I'm not going to be the only one. So for our listeners who want to connect with you and follow you, how can they find you outside of our time here today?
You can find me on Instagram at Barbara Majeski. You can find me on TikTok, Barbara Majeski, BarbaraMajeski.com. You cannot find me on Twitter, but if you can, thank Elon Musk because maybe he brought me back. So by the time this is aired.
Barbara, you are hilarious. Thank you so much for being with us today. You have really been a breath of fresh air, I'll say, in light of all of the things that people are dealing with, helping them pull out those desires and those aspirations that they have. And thank you so much for being here. And we hope you'll come back and join us later.
That brings us to the close of this edition of Innovate Marketing. We're glad you tuned in. Innovate Marketing is brought to you by mypodcast.media. Mypodcast.media produces podcasts for brands, influencers, and nonprofits. Find us online at mypodcast.media. Your producer for Innovate Marketing is Beth Freed. Executive producer, Sean Neal. And your host is Sherry Peak. We'll see you next time. Be sure to tune in.